Ooh.
Just
Okay.
Lana Ray, welcome to the business.
Yeah.
It's good to have you aboard. So would you like to just introduce yourself?
I'm Lana Ray. I'm your daughter. I'm your middle child, and I'm new to the business. I'm 16. So yeah.
That's right, and you've come into Tabulate Media, which is like a small agency that I run with Gareth, and you're doing a content creator course.
Mhm.
Yep, so an apprenticeship. So you're with us for 4 days a week, and you have a 1 day of study time.
That's right. Yeah.
And the reason why we've sort of created this podcast called Replacing Media is so that we could sit down, essentially the main purpose, and every week have a conversation about what you're learning. This is something that you have to do anyway. You have to sit down with either myself or Gareth or Charlotte and have these weekly meetings. So we thought, why not actually put that into a podcast, and then all the stuff that's coming out in your content creator course, all the questions you have, at least it's recorded. You can go back and watch them, and it'll be a lot of content there for us to put out. And these are questions that a lot of people are interested in, especially if they're doing content creation, but also marketers, people that run businesses, people that want to work out how can they use content within their organization. It would be a good space for them as well. So each week, did you want to sort of explain what the process is of your course?
It's an online course. So I'd go online, and week by week, there are a number of set articles and booklets on like a different topic, whether that be briefs or audience segmentation. And I can read through those. Personally, I don't really like reading, so there are a number of podcasts like this, or just videos, presentations explaining those topics, and then a number of tasks that I can complete, whether set by my tutor or just so that I can record what I've learnt from that lesson.
Okay, so how you set tasks then?
So monthly, I'll get on Zoom with my tutor and we'll have a conversation about where I'm at, and we'll go through the previous tasks that he set for me. He'll even grade them, tell me how I can improve this, that, and the other. And then, yeah, he will set the next, and I see him monthly.
Okay. When you go into that meeting, what does that look like? Are you presenting work? Do you have to answer questions? What does that look like?
It's pretty, what's the word?
Relaxed?
Yeah, it's pretty relaxed. It's just, I'm very comfortable with Nick, my tutor. So yeah, it's just a conversation like this one. He'll ask me questions about the topics, and even if I don't know, he's pretty chill about it, so it's fine. But yeah, that's kind of it.
So what we need to make sure that we put in place then is that you get to have these sit downs. We can do this weekly, and obviously if you need any help with any of the work, you can either speak to myself or Charlotte or Gareth, and there's plenty of people in the office to help you in each module, because content creation is quite vast. It's not like when I started, where you had one person that done graphic design, and you had one person that knew how to do photography, and one person that does video, and one person that does web design. Like, the way the industry's moved forward is that businesses and organizations, they need so much content delivered all the time in order for them to have the ability to produce all this content. They have to basically, they won't be able to hire all of those people to do all of those jobs. So they created this role called content creator, which is basically someone that's willing to be able to sit down and learn graphic design, to sit down and have an interest in photography and video and web design, and to be able to take a job and create a piece of content and get it out there within one person rather than 5, 6, 7 people. So it's not easy. I think some people sort of think of content creators and they think, oh, kind of jack of all trades. They're not really good at anything, but they can do a little bit of this and a little bit of that. When it's quite the contrary. I think the older you get and the more experience you get, you have to accept that, yeah, if you've got someone that's studying graphic design and they're just doing that, they're going to get better than you quickly at that particular thing. So you kind of sacrifice your growth because you're sort of expanding it over a number of areas. But over time, you start to get good at a lot of different things, and then seeing how those can fit into creating and outputting different bits of media, which also in the title, replacing me, dear, you're going to replace me. And what I do in the business as like a creative director, well, I'm still very much on the tools. We're not that big where I don't have to get on a camera, but you're going to have a great overview of how content comes together and hopefully, and what content creation is all about at your stage. It needs to be learning skills and developing your taste. So being able to look at something and be like, I like that or I don't like that. And that's all you need to be concentrating on this first year is, how do I do that? So how do I edit? How do I use this program to the point where it doesn't feel like you're having to think about the process of getting the result you want. You kind of want to get in these programs. So whether you are going to be using DaVinci Resolve, Lightroom, things like that. But you need to use these tools to the point where they don't get in the way of creativity. So you just jump in them and you're like, I want to create this and I want this to happen. And you don't have to think of too hard about how do I get there. So that's number one. And number two, like I said, is developing your taste, because ultimately that's what people are going to be paying you for. As you move up and take over from me, it's going to be down to your taste. Like what looks good, what do you like? And then developing that to the point where people are like in line, or they like your sort of style and they like the taste that you have and the standards that you have, and then that's why they hire you. Yeah.
Yeah.
not too hard. All right then. So moving on to what sort of things we're going to cover in this podcast. So I said already that it's going to be following your course, and then once we've covered those sort of areas, it'll move into how to run an agency. It'll go more into developing your style, processes, things like that. Some of the topics that we might cover in this podcast, having looked at your syllabus around content creation, around how do you actually manage content, how to break down a brief, how to present mood boards, how to create engaging content, what content actually means. So there's a number of things in there. And then obviously we do marketing and things like that. So we'd go further in and deeper into the marketing side of things. But what does a content creator mean to you? What does that mean?
Well, from the experience that I've had with you in year 10, or work experience, you go out, you shoot, whether that be photography or video. Then you come back to the studio and edit it. And obviously there's multiple steps in between where you are on meetings with these clients and you're asking them what they like, and you've spoken about your style, and I suppose you show them like your work previously. and then they'll give you the job and you'll just have to do it, innit?
Yeah, if it's that simple. So then in there's some content creation. So going back to my question then, what is content creation to you?
It's the process of making. What's that, I guess?
Okay. That's a good start. Okay, so you studied art, right? What does art mean to you?
I'd say it's a display of what you're feeling in the moment.
Do you feel there's difference between a content creator and an artist?
An artist makes their work as a reflection of them, and their work is theirs. It's not for anyone else, I suppose.
Yeah, that's pretty good. So content without purpose is art, right? Art's beautiful, but that's not what we do here. We are content creators, so we leverage creativity and we use art as a tool in order to reach a goal. So whether that goal is driving up engagement, whether that goal is selling products, whether it's brand reach and attracting people to the brand, everything we do has to have purpose. It needs to move the needle, okay? And that's the difference between making art and making an impact. What we need to do as content creators is leverage our creativity into driving a particular goal. So if you had to sum up what a content creator is, that's exactly what it is. We leverage creativity to reach a certain goal, whether that's in a business, whether that's in an organization, but it has to have purpose. Whereas an artist, like you said, their art is just for them. They have the right, so to speak, to say, my art's not ready yet. I can't show you. Whereas a content creator that has a purpose in mind, they can't take an infinite amount of time, right? They need to be able to do the best that they can do and get it as close to perfection being what they had in their head when they started. They need to see how close they can get it to that before the time or the money runs out. Whereas an artist, they don't. They can literally do the art until they say, okay, this is now finished. That's not to say that you can't be artistic, but you need to save the art side of things for your side project. So when you was in school, one thing that you did struggle with was what? When it come to art?
I'm a huge procrastinator.
Yeah, but I'd say that word, you probably move it towards perfectionist.
Yeah, and that too.
Yeah. So there's loads of times on projects that you'd get something that was great, like in your photography or in your art, and then you'd be like, no, this isn't good enough. I'm starting again, and then you'd leave it and you'll wait for that inspiration to hit you, and then you'd start again. Well, that's the privilege that we don't have within this business. So procrastination, like I get it, like waiting for inspiration to happen. But I think the difference you're going to find now with working with a team is that we put processes in place to make sure that we all get into that creative vibe and that creative mood where we haven't got to wait for inspiration. Like we kind of set ourselves up for success. Whereas when you was doing art, it's very much on you, right? You're there with a blank page of a sketchbook and you're like, okay, where am I going to take this? And you may do bits of research and there's elements that you would learn in school. But now that you're with a team, we're going to make that a lot easier. And being part of the process is being able to look at the blank page with the rest of the guys and then sort of all chipping in ideas of how we're going to set about creating this piece of content. or pieces of content, and then understanding, because most people see an end product and they just can't see the steps that it took to get there, and then it puts them off because they're just like, oh, I could never do that. Whereas what we do is, if you're a creative person anyway, it becomes easy. I won't say it's very easy, but it becomes like second nature once you set up those processes and they're in place. And that's what I'm really excited about having you in the business. I get to share the greatest job in the world. It doesn't even feel like a job. And I get to share that with you and give you a head start in something that took me so long to learn. I didn't have anyone to sit me down and show me any of this. I had to sort of learn it, and that meant that it took me longer. And I learned a lot of things that like didn't work. And as a father, to be able to get you on the path of a job that I know you're gonna like, because not to be bad, but I've sort of set you up to do this from when you was very little through manipulation and don't go to bed, come and watch this film, and getting you into this, what do you think about this scene, what do you think about this composition, what do you think about this photo? Like, you've had that from when you was little, where we just pause the film and say, oh, how do you think they like this, what do you think's going on here, what's the subtext of this? And without knowing it, you have a good taste in visually what's meant to look good, and into stories and subtext before you've even started.
Wow.
So I'm very excited about you working with me. And then when your brother, we've got a few years yet until your brother's out, and then you'll probably be sitting down here having these same conversations with him, and that'll be the next podcast. So this is a great opportunity, right, for you to sort of take some of my knowledge and how I run an agency, how I create content. But equally, this is a great opportunity for me, one, to sit down with you and just to talk to my daughter and get to know you better. And also for me to see your insights into content and how you sort of consume content, the content that you're drawn to. And because the older I get, there's a disconnect between me and the younger generation. And one thing, when you get into marketing, the first thing you sort of realize is you can't depend on how you feel about something and how you see the world. And it's all about the data and breaking down the data, and sometimes getting in the heads of sort of how young people think is very challenging the older that you get, because you're disconnected from the culture, you're disconnected from the things that they're consuming. So I think this would be a great opportunity throughout the course of this podcast to look at media and content from both a 40-something-year-old and a teenager. So I think that would be a good process, and I'm looking forward to seeing what conversations come out of that. But just to kick it off then, how do you consume media? What's your go-to app?
This is embarrassing, but it's obviously TikTok, and Instagram, I suppose. Yeah.
And when you go onto it, like, what are you looking for? Is it like, are you looking to be entertained? Are you looking to laugh? What?
Yeah, my feed is very entertaining. Yeah, it's all just really silly stuff at the moment. I need to fix it, but yeah.
So what's the algorithm sending you then?
Just just memes and funny videos relating to like films that I've watched or series that I've watched and stuff.
Yeah.
My feed is horrible. I showed you this.
I just saw a lot of like Japanese guys on there.
Why are you lying? It's not true.
All the K-pop singers.
That's mom's.
Is that mom's feed? All right, but what you need to start doing within your sort of social media, like I too have like silly stuff, but then I also get a lot of creative stuff. So you need to start introducing that. And if you want to trick the algorithm and into like sending you more of that stuff, just when you see creative stuff, send it to me or send it to a friend, and just keep sending stuff, and then it will just keep on changing your algorithm and sending you more relevant stuff. Because I think social media is a great learning tool, but it can also be a great waste of time. In that waste of time, do research. Be like, why am I laughing at this? Why is this funny? And just bank that. Save it, bookmark it, so that when we're creating content like that, you can draw from that. I'm not saying steal it, but you can draw from that inspiration and put your own sort of slant on it. So you need to start using the social media rather than it just using up your time sort of thing.
Yep, definitely. Yeah.
So who do you think will benefit from this podcast then?
Well, the people in my position who are going to be asking the same questions that I'm asking you, and then hopefully you can give them a good enough answer. Or just people who want to use content creation for their own personal uses. Or yeah, for their businesses as well.
Yeah. I'd agree with you. I don't know if I'll have all the answers.
Yeah.
So, but I think between the two of us, we can sort of figure things out. If there's anything I don't know, I'm not going to try and pretend that I know it, but we can look certain things up online. I think a lot of the terms I might not be familiar with. So if it's like, oh, what's this type of diagram? I'll be like, what's that? But then when I see it, I'll be like, oh yeah, I call that this. And I think there'd be a lot of that. But what I'm hoping to do, one, obviously to get you to pass your content creation course with flying colors. I have a good idea of what your tutor is going to want to hear you say and what he wants to see you be able to action. And then working towards that final goal, that final piece where you need to develop a content idea, record it, upload it, whether that be build it onto a website and present it back to them. I think throughout us sitting down each week, you're going to be able to get a good understanding of that. And anyone else in your position that's doing a content creator course is also going to be in a good position, because obviously, like you said, you're going to be asking the questions they want to know. And also for anyone that's further along, maybe like they're marketing managers or they're looking to produce content and they're finding it hard, if I can break it down in a way that you can understand, someone that's very new to it, then I'm hoping that everyone will be able to gain from that. And it will refresh it in my mind as well. There's a lot of processes, like when you get in the real world, so to speak, that some of the processes don't happen as often. You develop your own sort of ways of doing things, and there's places where you have to sort of cut corners in order to save time, or maybe there's not enough budget for you to develop a certain idea or to create a certain type of content, and you get into the rhythm of creating your style of content or the content that your clients come to you for. And it means some of these other processes that we might talk about, we don't use that much within Tabulate. So it will be good to see whether, do we need to start using that now? Can that benefit us, or will that slow us down a bit? So I think it's going to be interesting. Yeah. And then we can, hopefully by episode 500, we'll be actually good at this and know each other. And I want it to be a little bit personal as well. So if there's any questions that, obviously not now, don't put me on the spot, but like if there's anything you want to know about when I started or anything, just we can just talk about it. It doesn't have to go out on camera as well. But this is a good opportunity if you're going to sit down and just talk. I don't want it all to be about business. Yeah.
Cool.
Ooh.
Let's leave it there. Wait for the next.